Hello and welcome to the Aid Station. I'm Chris Robb, and today really excited to be heading to a city that brings back wonderful memories for me, albeit 25 years ago. We head to Istanbul, where we meet Renay Onur, who's the general manager of Spor Istanbul. He's also the race director of the Istanbul Marathon, and he's got a wonderful story to tell about that. Renay, wonderful to meet you. Thank you for making the time.
Chris, thanks for inviting me. I've been following you for a long time, so I'm proud to be here. I'm happy to be here.
Wonderful. And as you said before we started recording, we all learn from each other. And I'm certain that in today's conversation, there's going to be lessons for people around the world that can be learned from what you've done. And you know, every country is different, but every country is similar in other ways. Every race is different. Everyone is similar in other ways, and so many ways to learn. I love to always start by getting some background. I'd love to hear some of your backstory, and I'm sure the viewers would as well.
All right, thank you. Actually, I'm a mechanical engineer. I worked as a banker and an investment banker for a while, but then switched to the other side of the table and then start working as a business developer and strategy. But the more important thing is that during those years, I started to get involved in volunteering, and 15 or 16 years ago, I did the first charity run in Istanbul, in Turkey actually, and it was an Istanbul Marathon. And then it became we started 6. Now this community is over 100,000 people. And during the years, and like 40 to 50% of all the Istanbul Marathon runners were coming from our platform, charity running platform. So that's how actually I started to, at least we know each other with Spor Istanbul, which is the municipalities established by municipality, which is in charge of all facility management and event management. And 2.5 years ago, there was a change in the leadership of municipality in Istanbul. And then I was trying to get in touch with the new teams so that my volunteer platform, adım adım, which means step by step in Turkish, we can start a smooth relationship with the municipality. And while I was trying to find out who will be the next general manager of Spor Istanbul, they said that, we haven't decided yet, but actually you should be. My first reaction was, I'll pass, because that was a friend who was asking me this. I'll pass, but in 2 or 3 days' time, I'll think about some names which could be good candidates for Spor Istanbul. He immediately said that I don't want any candidate names from you. Just by tomorrow, tell me if you're interested or not. And it all started like that. At first, my first reaction was no, because at that time, which was 3 years ago, it was a period which I was in a new stage of my life. I left corporate business. I was involved in social entrepreneurship. I'm also an Ashoka Fellow, which is a social entrepreneurship platform. And I had some other social entrepreneurships. And at the same time, I was giving consultancy and also giving speeches. That was how I was making my life. But then I thought that Istanbul is a very big city. It's bigger than 160 countries. It's over 16 million. And to be a part of a team which will decide the future of a city like that it didn't take me too long, to say yes, actually. By next morning, I said, yes, I'm interested. So that's how this story started.
Wow.
Before I finish, I have to say that I'm a volunteer. Volunteering changed my life in the last 15 years. I started attending these events as a volunteer, and it changed my life. If you ask me even 3 years ago, I mean, would you be a part of the municipality? I would say no. I was even dreaming about it. But I mean, I worked in a private sector. I worked as a part of NGOs and social entrepreneurships. Now I'm working in a municipality. I think that's a very good triangle, because in each of these systems, you learn different approaches, you learn different motives, and I'm happy to be here.
Wow, what a wonderful story.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a story that I hear quite often, and one that has been replicated in my business. I often say that some of my best staff, and you know, I've been in the industry 35 years, and some of my best staff were volunteers because they had the opportunity to experience what it was like as a volunteer. I had the opportunity to see whether they would fit the organization, and many of them were really great partnerships that went on for many years, and some of them, you know, many of them still my friends from way beyond. So yeah, it's a wonderful story. Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing.
it is.
And that wonderful story continues. I mean, you know, imagine in terms of if you had predicted taking on a role like this, and just over probably a year later, COVID striking and all those
Yeah.
challenges, and that brings you to this situation where you've recently delivered the Istanbul Marathon with huge success and accolades. Tell us about, you know, how's things in Istanbul at the moment. Tell us a little bit about that event, and you know what it took to get it to the start line.
I mean, it was a shock, as you can imagine, because I'm coming here with, you know, very big dreams, big targets, you know, lots of things to do. But the first thing that I have to say is that I was very lucky that, because at the start of the pandemic, at least the senior management was up and ready. I mean, we had the perfect team by then, because there were some changes in the first, you know, 9 to 10 months. But I mean, we were ready for that. And maybe I have to tell you about the size of the company as well, because we are not only organizing events, we also manage facilities, sport facilities. We have 66 facilities plus 200 school saloons, sports saloons. And every year, around 1 million unique people visit our facilities, around 9 to 10 million times. So the facility management side is huge. And every year we also, on event management side, we organize around 40 events with 250 to 300,000 people attending. Wow. So, I mean, working in a system, pandemic was like a nightmare, because you're going to these huge facilities, they are closed. Nobody is using it. Also, I mean, the profit side, or let's say sustainability side, that was also quite a difficult period. But since the team was a good team, we were highly motivated. I mean, immediately for the facilities, we had a plan. And for the events, we started to follow the world, of course, because on event side, I mean, we have to go by the law, I mean, let's say local federation, international federation, World Health Organization, like you're all following. And on top of it, of course, the government officials. So we had to create some gray areas, frankly speaking. Yeah. And once we believe that it's a safe zone, then we started lobbying on municipality, lobbying on government officials, and they trusted us. And so that's how we managed not to cancel our half marathon. We just postponed it 5 to 6 months. And then also the marathon, we were we were in the city. I mean, after 5 or 6 months, we were back to our offices, like all the team is working from the office. It's not easy to work in municipality from your home, because I mean, the city is there, the city is working, so we have to be here. Yes, we are more comfortable on home office, If someone wants to stay at home or work from home, that's fine. But most of our employees, they prefer to be here. And with all the issues or the rules, hygiene rules that we created and we standardized, we got the yes from the government officials and the local municipality and federation, and then it was a go for us. And we were lucky because, as you can imagine, since most of the races were cancelled, which meant some of the elite runners, maybe we were not on their list, were decided to come to Istanbul. And then that also brought Turkey the first world record in all athleticism branches. So it's the first time in Turkey that a world record was broken.
Wow.
And that was a very good PR for us, because that shows that we have the perfect parkour for a world record. And people see that, it's not only for elite runners, as you know, for people who are seeking for personal bests, that also puts Istanbul on a spot where they can decide to go. In addition to, because having the personal best, you can pass by the bridge, joining the continents. You can see the Istanbul. So on that sense, I can say that pandemic, we managed to change the crisis into a good opportunity for our marathons.
Wow, that's one. So tell us a little bit about it. We spoke about the world. You spoke about the world record, number of participants. Where there, numbers of international travelers. My understanding is that you had people coming from many countries to come and join you. Can you give us a few insights into that?
Yeah, sure. This year for our half marathon, which was in May. April, May. We didn't see so many foreign runners, but on local runners, we are also having difficulty. Frankly speaking, Turkey is not a running country. That's the difficult part of our job. We're trying to increase the number of runners. Just to give you an idea about the level of that, in a city like 16 million, this year, we had a record for the last 43 years in terms of number of Turkish finishers. The number is 1,600.
Wow.
In a city 16 million, it's 1,600. So, we have to take this definitely up. 5,000, 10,000 quite immediately. Now we're running our running strategy. And thanks to this circle as well, for example, I talked to Makis Asimakopoulos from Athens Marathon.
Yes.
He responded very quickly. He was very motivating, and he gave a great vision to me and to our team. So that's thanks to this network. It wasn't easy to connect to some people, but Makis was very responsive and very helpful. And so the number of finishes we had to limit on marathon with 5,000. We are also doing a 15K in marathon. We had to limit it with 15,000. So in total, the maximum number was 20,000. 15,000 did registration. Around 12,000 people finished it. And if we didn't, there weren't marathon registrations more than 5,000, but on 15K, if we hadn't limited, probably that might have gone to 25,000 people. But that was asked from government officials to limit the number of people in that specific area. And we are working on it. The numbers, in the next 10 to 15 years, we should be definitely seeing the number of runners, marathon runners, up to 15,000. and that means we will have to decrease the number of 15K runners in the same race.
Yeah.
That's the shift that we have to do. That's my vision and target to do it.
Wonderful. Well,
and by the way, I have to tell you that Istanbul Marathon is the biggest charity running event in Turkey as well. In terms of dollars, it's changing because of the currency, but every year around $2 to $3 million of charity running is done in Turkey. And that's actually one of the reasons why we didn't want to stop during the pandemic as well.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if the NGOs are running, that means the hope is continuing, because that's a very important income. The money raised from charity run in Turkey, around 30 to 40% of all individual donations is coming from Istanbul Marathon to NGOs in Turkey. And so we didn't stop. They're happy, we are happy. And we've seen many good stories in marathon. I mean, you all know these stories. I mean, people who hardly trained during pandemic. I mean, were up in there running and finishing in a healthy state. There were some survivors from pandemic. They were also in our race. So that was a very motivating race.
Wonderful. That's great news, and certainly we have such a role to play. Time, as always, flies in these things, and you've already shared a little inspirational story, but I'd love to quickly, if there was one, you're obviously amazing leadership role from a charity perspective, managing a big team. If there was one leadership tip that you would like to give to people that are listening, what would that be? And then I'd love after that for you to finish off with another inspiring story, or a specific inspiring story. We've got probably 3 or 4 minutes before we need to wrap it up, but just a quick leadership tip would be wonderful.
Sure. I think, as I told you in the beginning, volunteering changed my life and changed me as well. I mean, it's definitely a personal development. And I think my management style evolved while, I mean, not in private sector, but mostly in volunteering. So there is a saying in volunteering, which I like it very much. It's that you cannot manage volunteers, but you can just entertain them. So, I mean, that's my motto. I mean, if we're having fun with our team, if you like what we are doing, then we can have good results. That's my leadership motto. I mean, to entertain each other, to learn while we are doing what we have to do. And that's what I can tell in terms of management style.
Wonderful. People having fun often perform so much better than people under stress. And we have an industry that obviously has massive hours and lots of challenges, but it's got an opportunity to have so much fun and be so inspiring. I'm sure you've seen so many amazingly inspiring stories. Is there one inspiring anecdote that you'd like to finish on, please?
Yes, I mean, first of all, I mean, this sector, I mean, mass sport events is very important, because we are living in an era which, obesity and type 2 diabetes, I mean, increasing massively. I mean, so that's the only preemptive tool, I mean, which can help all of us to get rid of it. So yes, elite runners are important in these events, but also the recreational runners are very important. So I remember something from our 2019 marathon. We decided to give a medal and for the person who is finishing the last. That's the one who enjoyed the parkour the most.
Yes.
And that was a lady from Japan, and she was very surprised, and seeing the happiness and surprise in her eyes, and now remembering the things he said about Istanbul and this marathon because of having this award, I mean, it was very inspiring for me. I mean, yes, it's always good to see a record in your event, a record in your event, but it's amazing to see thousands of people who are happy to be there and enjoying the parkour. And even if the people who is the last is happy in that marathon, I think that's very inspiring for the event managers and also for the people who are attending to these events.
It's a wonderful story, and I can totally relate. I've stood so many times on finish lines waiting for that last runner or cyclist or triathlete to come through, and it's often an incredible moment. Renay, we could talk for hours, and I'm sure we will at
Yeah.
other times, but thank you so much for making the time. Congrats on your amazing success, and look forward to keeping in contact, and look forward to coming back to Istanbul in the not too distant future, and hopefully at a time when your event is on. Thank you so much.
I thank you, Chris, for inviting me. It was fun talking to you.
Thanks a lot.